Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk, bringing you the best global books every day. Today we're exploring the book, The Invisible Forest. You might wonder, why call it The Invisible Forest? There are countless, unnoticed details and phenomena in forests. Author David Haskell spent a full year observing a small forest patch, even tracking individual ants. His discoveries became this remarkable field journal, filled with fascinating observations. Published in 2012, it won the National Outdoor Book Award that same year. In 2013, it received the National Academy's Communication Award. Haskell is a biologist, teaching at a southern U.S. university. Born in Britain, he earned his zoology degree at Oxford before completing his PhD in evolutionary biology at Cornell. He admits choosing a less prestigious university allowed lighter research duties, enabling his year-long sabbatical in nature. This 200,000-word work contains 43 concise chapters. Each chapter explores specific organisms or phenomena. We'll examine this book through the lens of food chains. This approach helps understand ecological relationships. We'll explore 3 key questions. First, beyond nutrition, what ecological roles do primitive organisms like lichens, mosses, and ferns play? Second, how do insects and reptiles strategize within food chain hierarchies? Third, what relationships exist between apex species, mammals, birds, and lower trophic levels? Humans, technically mammals too. How do we impact these systems? Before exploring, let's understand the author's chosen forest location. Different geographies create unique climates and ecosystems. Understanding nature requires considering local climate and geography. The author's chosen forest is located in the mountainous woods of southeastern Tennessee, North America, at an elevation of about 400 meters. A completely undisturbed old-growth forest covering approximately 1 square meter on the hillside. Throughout his observation period, the author maintained absolute non-interference, not even bringing a camera. He believed pursuing perfect photography would distract from direct observation. This open understory area receives moderate sunlight, lies near streams with seasonal water flow, and maintains high humidity, conditions supporting rich biodiversity. Clearly, this forest was carefully selected by the author. The author calls this site a mandala, referencing Buddhist sand paintings used for cosmic contemplation. Just as monks find universal truth in small mandalas, we can discover nature's secrets through this forest mandala. Now to our first question. What roles do primitive organisms play in forest ecology? Let's start with humble lichens. Resembling plants, but actually fungal partnerships. They cling to damp surfaces, like tree bark and rocks, as pale crusts. This represents an ancient symbiotic agreement. Fungi provide structure and protection. Algae contribute nutrients through photosynthesis. A mutually beneficial cooperation, creating what we recognize as lichen. Mosses, though visually similar to lichens, are true plants. You're probably familiar with mosses in damp, shaded areas. But why do these plants thrive in shadows without true roots? Mosses absorb water through their surface structures rather than roots. Under magnification, moss reveals complex branching patterns that trap moisture. That's why moss grows in shady, damp areas where sunlight doesn't dry out moisture. Moss has a unique survival mechanism. Even when dried out, sugars in its cells protect internal structures, entering dormancy. When rain returns, they spring back to life like nature's phoenixes. During a winter rain, Haskell observed moss glowing emerald green, breathing life into the bleak season. While Haskell felt suffocated in his rain gear, the moss thrived effortlessly in the wetness. Though unassuming, lichens and moss are ecological powerhouse players. Lichens growing on rocks secrete acids that break down stone, combining with weathering to create soil for plants. Moss plays even greater ecological roles. Beyond water retention, moss forms natural filtration systems and prevents soil erosion. For instance, moss carpets on mountain slopes prevent mudslides during rains. Mountain springs gain clarity after filtering through moss beds. Ferns in the mandala share this love for moisture due to their reproductive needs. These ancient plants reproduce through spores on frond undersides, not seeds. Spore capsules cluster in patterns that might unsettle those with trypophobia. Sunlight dries the spore casings, triggering explosive dispersal. Spores develop into coin-shaped prothalae, resembling miniature lily pads. These grow reproductive cells requiring water for fertilization, hence their need for damp habitats. This perfect humidity comes from the forest canopy, filtering sunlight and regulating moisture. We all know green plants absorb carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. Tree leaves require sunlight to dissolve CO into their cells, converting it into sugars for energy. This process requires leaves to open stomata, causing water evaporation through these pores, a phenomenon called transpiration. Water loss triggers absorption from branches, which draw moisture from trunk-connected roots. Every breath a tree takes involves massive water transport from roots through xylem vessels to leaves. A sunlit forest constantly transpires moisture, creating rain clouds, forming its own water cycle. Autumn leaves falling are at the end. They become part of nature's recycling system. Thousands of tiny forest custodians, nature's cleanup crew, process fallen leaves. Now, to our second question. How do small animals navigate food chain complexities? These unsung heroes, springtails, snails, earthworms, serve as fertilizing janitors. Springtails, 1 millimeter, translucent arthropods with incredible jumping ability. Named for their jumping prowess, they feed on mold and microbes. Nature's mold prevention. Their excrement fertilizes soil, making them mobile nutrient distributors. These decomposers transform decaying matter into fertile soil through natural processing. This nutrient-rich soil then sustains various herbivorous insects. When we think leaf-eating insects, caterpillars immediately come to mind. Half of insect species are herbivores, with caterpillars becoming prey themselves when nourished. This creates nature's perpetual cycle of consumption and regeneration. Thus, the humble caterpillar's life remains fraught with danger. Some caterpillars evolve bright patterns mimicking toxic species to deter predators. Beyond birds, ants pose major threats, prompting alternative survival strategies. This caterpillar adopted a surrender strategy, secreting sweet droplets to bribe ants. "Yo, big guy, Take this sweet tribute and let me be. Thus begins a remarkable insect alliance. Sugar-craving ants become bodyguards, repelling wasps while enjoying caterpillar nectar. Nature brims with such symbiotic relationships. But ecological balance also involves darker predator-prey dynamics. Now to ticks, creatures that make most humans shudder. Haskell fought revulsion to observe a tick's behavior. Their forelegs contain Haller's organs, detecting host vibrations and CO. They latch onto passing animals with hook-like claws. Their barbed hypostome anchors them during blood meals lasting hours. Improper removal leaves mouth parts embedded, causing infection. Ticks transmit pathogens like Lyme disease and babesiosis through bites. Haskell confronts deep-rooted primate aversion to parasites. Our battle with ticks predates Homo sapiens, originating in primate grooming rituals. Outdoor enthusiasts must avoid tick habitats near animal trails. Steer clear of brush, where ticks await on leaf tips. Nature's vampires. When hiking in groups, regularly check each other for ticks. While alarming ticks remain relatively scarce if avoiding dense forests. Speaking of bugs, I bet mosquitoes top your hate list, right? Fragile as they seem, mosquitoes pierce skin with surgical precision. Haskell donated 2 milligrams blood to observe mosquito feeding mechanics. Their proboscis contains serrated stylets that saw through flesh. Anticoagulant saliva prevents clotting while causing itchy reactions. Engorged mosquitoes excrete excess water before next attack. Many fantasize about eradicating mosquitoes entirely, but should we? Mosquitoes crucially sustain ecosystems despite their nuisance. Beyond disease vectors, they feed bats, birds, and insects. Bats consume thousands nightly. Nature's pest control. Eliminating mosquitoes would starve predator species. For ecological peace, maybe we should tolerate some blood loss. Not all insects are villains. Fireflies bring magic to forests. Their glow comes from luciferin, reacting with oxygen. This energy-efficient process converts 90% plus energy into light. Fireflies evolved biological switches to conserve energy. Haskell marveled at nature's efficient lighting versus crude flashlights. Fireflies perfected sustainable illumination through millennia of evolution. Yet humanity's twist-century fossil fuel dependence makes us crude designers compared to nature's brilliance. Haskell's observations reveal overlooked microcosms of forest life. While birds and mammals dominate our forest imagery, they complete our ecological inquiry. Final question: how do apex species interact with lower trophic levels? And how does humanity impact these relationships? We've all envied avian flight since childhood. Nature's original aviators. Birds evolved extraordinary adaptations. Hollow bones, fused skeletons, specialized feathers. Flight optimization means no teeth, lightweight beaks, and frequent waste expulsion. Hence their low-density bodies and lack of bladder. Hence those unexpected gifts from above. Apologies to anyone beneath avian restrooms. These adaptations enable aerial mastery through minimized mass. Avian hunters rely on exceptional vision, some seeing UV patterns invisible to us. Birds and insects engage in evolutionary arms races. Unlike caterpillar-ant alliances, insects here must hide from relentless hunters. This mutual regulation maintains balance. Birds control insects. Insect numbers regulate birds. Disrupt this equilibrium, and ecosystems unravel. Example: backyard feeders made black-throated blue warblers abandon migration patterns. Their northern stay increased predation on southern songbirds, disrupting local ecologies. Seemingly minor human actions ripple through food webs. White-tailed deer overbrowsing in Haskell's mandala reveals human-wildlife impacts. European settlers extirpated gray wolves, removing natural deer population control. By 1930s America, wolves vanished while deer populations exploded. Coyotes migrated eastward, hybridizing with red wolves in ecological compensation. These changes demonstrate the butterfly effect from human-driven gray wolf extinction. Haskell recognizes ecological balance as profoundly delicate. Ancient forests hosted diverse megafauna. Our lush forests might actually represent ecological imbalance. Nature maintains equilibrium through ancient wisdom, easily disrupted by human intervention. Final review. Trees create humid microclimates for mosses and ferns. Moss retains moisture. Trees transpire water. Leaf litter nourishes decomposers. Cyclical perfection. Herbivores and predators check each other. Birds regulate insects. A self-sustaining machine. Humans remain transient observers in this system. All species excel in their niches. Moss masters, humidity fireflies outperform flashlights. Each life form sustains the cycle. A reader's question: how can urban dwellers practice nature? Observation. Haskell advises consistently observe one thing, like a commute tree, to discover profound details over time. Thus concludes our exploration of the invisible forest. Find key notes below the audio. See you tomorrow.